Banjul rehabilitation project impresses Gambia's president as he pays a surprise visit to the construction sites on Wednesday. Executive orders during Jammeh's regime cannot be defied, says former IGP Ensa Baji. UDP calls on breakaway National Assembly member to apologize or face consequences. This and more coming on your way on The World Today. It is 17:05 GMT here in our studios in Banjul, and you are watching The World Today. I am Amadou Kante, and now the news in detail. President Adama Barrow, in a surprise visit to construction sites in the capital city of Banjul, observed the progress of the multi-million-dollar project meant to rehabilitate the road and drainage system of the city. The project, which was launched in February, is meant to facelift Banjul of floods and sanitary disaster, especially during the rainy season. In his view, the pre-financing of over $1 billion for the coverage of drainage and sewage system, in addition to a 37 kilometers long road network within Banjul. The progress of this project, according to Barrow, has repelled insects off the capital city.
It's not about talking only. It's not about sentiments. It's not about politics. This is about work. If you work, people will see the results, and nobody will dispute it. Banjulians, they have seen the results, they have seen the impact, and they have made a big difference in their life, especially during the rainy season. This rainy season was a different one completely. I think even the mosquitoes have migrated from Banjul. They are now finding their way somewhere else. And it's because of the work. So we are really grateful, and we are very happy with the Banjul people, because they have given all the support. Without their support, it would have been a problem. But they have given us support.
During a visit on project sites in the capital city of Banjul, Ensa Baji, former Inspector General of Police, is before the Truth, Reconciliation and Reparation Commission today. The most feared police personnel at the time of his service told the commission that defying executive orders during Jammeh's regime carried heavy consequences and gave a narrative of the situation senior security officials were forced with. Mr. Baji cited several examples of human rights violations by the former regime. He revealed to the commission that the former president believed that he was challenging him, tossed on numerous occasions, received of threats. Let's listen to Isa Baji in this inside.
So for our own benefit, can you explain to us what situation you are referring to? What kind of situation were senior officers at the police faced with at that time?
Ika instructions they follow.
During these days, you only follow instructions. Whether you like it or not, you have to follow those instructions. If you don't do that, you know what will happen to you. We all, everybody here, even the commissioners,
outside.
Everybody in the country, except for those who were living out of the country, we all knew what was happening. But nobody talks.
And what were people afraid of? What was the fear? What would happen if you either disobeyed orders or didn't do what was expected?
You yourself should know what was happening. If you don't know, you might hear it from people.
Well, because I can't testify and you're the one sitting there, you'd have to give us some examples so that we understand what you're talking about.
Akatete CDR no kenola ba wairi tele be CDR la laftale ye santiyong lu fo molie prun samo nga faham.
Particularly within the context of the security sector.
Sako wo bunda kantonin tankada dokula lu be la ko be lari nyamin.
Executive orders ni wanata.
When executive orders come,
you can't violate no.
You cannot violate it.
Foniye banko bulayeta.
Unless you leave the country and go out.
But eta bulala eta kela yesi banko kang.
You will not deny those orders and stay in the country.
Yela freedom soro.
And get your freedom.
That was the former Inspector General of Police Ensa Baji testifying there before the TRRC, and we will bring you more details of his testimony in our next news bulletin. UDP executive for Busumbala constituency lays condition for its breakaway National Assembly member to return to the party and apologize or face consequences. The party said at a press conference that the MP Sekou Jaju is no longer working for the interests of the party, both at the National Assembly and at the party level, while the party calls President Barrow to respect the coalition agreement of 3 years. Honorable Jaju is supporting Barrow to stay for 5 years. Binta Baji has more details in this report.
The administration of the United Democratic Party for Busumbala constituency has given its breakaway to National Assembly member until end of November to apologize or face consequences. The party said at a press conference on Tuesday that Sekou Jaju is no longer working in the interest of the party, both at the National Assembly and at the party level. While the party calls on President Barrow to respect the coalition agreement of 3 years, Honorable Jaju is supporting the constitutional 5 years mandate. Chairman of the Busumbala constituency, Kemo Sise, said their constituency is at the moment without a representation at the National Assembly, as the elected member is working against the values of the very party that earned him the position.
For a week back, the party executive committee, through the party leader and the secretary general, made a statement on behalf of the party that the United Democratic Party want to stand by the agreements made by Coalition 2016, which United Democratic Party is a member to. Our National Assembly member went to social media and said he is for the 5 years mandate as per Constitution, which means he is against the decision of the executive of the United Democratic Party. These and many other reasons prompted us to make it public through the very important press that we have in front of us here, that our National Assembly member, Honorable Sekou Jaju, is being suspected partying company with his own electorates. And the negative effects that is going to cause in our constituency, or is causing, Honorable Sekou Jaju is working alone without the involvement of Democratic elected executive committee of the Busumbala constituency, creating gaps that should not be the case.
He enumerated instances in which Honorable Jaju would solitarily decide in opposition to the expectation of the party.
During our discussion we had with him, that was the last meeting we had with Sekou, to just discuss and make sure we have peace in the constituency. It was like a reconciliation meeting. But nonetheless, at that meeting, he promised to come back and work with the elected executive committee of Busumbala constituency. But nonetheless, we're still facing a lot of problems that we think he is not trying to cooperate and work with the current executive. To our surprise, he was jumping from the frying pan into the fire with the following as key indicators of disrespecting the key cultures, values, and core principles of the United Democratic Party. That voting against motions that the President of the Republic come before the National Assembly to answer key questions on the state of nation affairs.
Apart from the issue of the transitional term, the National Assembly member is more engaged in supporting programs and policies of the current president and his Barrow Youth Movement than what the UDP has to offer. Mr. Caesar pointed out that the parliamentarian is no longer attending important party functions such as political rallies and executive meetings, and despite all the reconciliation efforts with him, the situation is getting worse. According to plan, the Busumbala UDP team will be in 17 days' time declare Honorable Jaju as opposition to the UDP if he doesn't yield to their demands. For iAfrican News, I am Binta Baji.
Thank you, Binta, with that report there. Of course, now we take a break and come back shortly to look at the remaining of our stories. Stay with us.
Tegla yo foda oda atabuka sonna tegla eh oda atabuka sonna kategola atabuka sonna tegla ke hey no bravo hey
Ngo Gambia be tulo be lori menna kabiri sanjuma ima moyno sila moy waton be wala kono yalong ñi on the 23rd November ñi 2019 sang memba kono te gisul men ka den kilo la men ka fo jalika izi mo nyamano wala be tulum baso to la independence
bara ayeto nyama
ku chanja ma wala du
bari kam men foto nyama ñing gisul kam men maje ay den kilo non dum Gambia fango le tam dum Gambia no le tam so ko men ngel non kabin ka to foko ina Gambia be nga findi nga stadium mo fandite wallahi surwal ka fo men nako so baye sa anda bo dem fe ka fo borom so ñunu bi su ñu mun to la andal wallahi ñu mun andal nga tanga stadium mo fandite 23 November 2019 stadium mo to
ndo den datula ko mat bekatale
ke bare pula ndafa mata den la bari ndam
doli ñaw yalo
hay
bal bi ya ya
If you wish me well, I will wish you well. If you pray for me, I will pray for you. If you cause
Welcome back, and you are reminded that you are watching the World Today News Bulletin on Africa TV. Now we take a look at the remaining of our stories. Kenya and the Kingdom of Lesotho signed a deal on establishment of a joint commission for cooperation's memorandum of understanding for bilateral construction and another memorandum in the field of sports. Lesotho Prime Minister Tabani, who arrived in Kenya on Sunday for a 3-day state visit, was formally received by President Uhuru Kenyatta. The cooperation deals are geared towards boosting bilateral cooperation between the two countries. Let's have more in this report rather.
Kenya and the Kingdom of Lesotho earlier three key parts geared towards boosting bilateral cooperation between them. The deals were agreement on the establishment of a joint commission for cooperation (JCC), memorandum of understanding for bilateral consultations, as well as a memorandum of understanding in the field of sports. This development arose after talks held between President Uhuru Kenyatta and Mosohe Thomas Tobani, Prime Minister of Lesotho, at the State House of Nairobi. The agreement to establish a JCC will enable the two countries to identify and explore areas of cooperation, while the MOU on sports will provide an opportunity for development of sports as an economic activity. Similarly, the bilateral consultations will pave the way for the two countries to hold consultations on both bilateral and multilateral matters affecting the two countries at regional, continental, and global level. President Kenyatta told the press that The Kingdom of Lesotho continues to be one of Kenya's strongest allies on the global stage.
The Kingdom of Lesotho continues to be one of Kenya's strongest allies on the global stage. Indeed, your endorsement of Kenya as the African Union's candidate for the non-permanent seat on the United Nations Security Council for 2021-22 is an affirmation of the strong bilateral relations that exist between our two sister countries. So I therefore urge our respective teams who are here with us today to ensure that the negotiations are completed and that the framework is put in place to carry this forward.
Lesotho has one of the most vibrant textile sectors on the African continent with a growing share of global apparel market. Prime Minister Tabani applauded President Kenyatta's leadership, saying he looked forward to the fruits of their relations.
God bless this ceremony because it's not going to be the first between our two countries. Let's have many more signs of very close and very genuine cooperation between our two countries. I thank you very much.
The 3-day state visit has enabled Prime Minister Tabani access to different historical sites, including the grave of Kenya's founding father, Jomo Kenyatta, at Parliament Building in Nairobi. For iAfrican News, I am Lisa Singate.
Well, that report, of course, was filed in there by Lisa Singate. Now, the local recycling industry is seemingly gaining momentum in the African continent as innovative youth continue to find a way out in their own transitional means. Some 3 years ago, a young Cameroonian entrepreneur came up with a way to use plastic waste instead of a cement to make eco-friendly paving slabs. His initiative made way for job creation among highly unemployed young people who at the same time were poor and underprivileged. Today, a similar technology is making the news in Guinea, where a youngster is producing paving stones out of plastic waste. The idea will also fight against waste that wreaks havoc on the environment in general.
Mariam Mohamed Keita pedals the bike that allows her to heat the fire. Another one stirs the substance in the tank. In just 6 months, Mariam's company was able to recycle 5 tons of plastic in the Guinean capital Conakry. Her workshop began almost by chance.
During a walk in search for jobs, I noticed piles of plastic throughout the capital. That's how I decided to do something to change this image. I explained the project to my husband, and together we reflected and went on cobblestones production because no one has yet thought of this project in Guinea.
Mariam and her team work 7 hours a day to make 40 cobbles. At Binedu Global Services, the square meter of the plastic cobble is sold for about $6 against $7 for cement pavers. The young Guinean entrepreneur says she has taken into account the risks of turning plastic waste into cobblestones in her project.
My only goal was to set up the company while taking into account the protection of the environment through pollution prevention. I spoke with an environmentalist friend of mine about the impact of my project. It was about assessing the negative and positive sides. All plastics collected will no longer be in gutters. This is already a step in the sanitation of Conakry.
Some analysts find the project of processing plastic waste into pavers innovative but dangerous. According to them, the black carbon released by the combustion of plastics contributes to climate change and air pollution, which could increase the risk of acute respiratory diseases and chronic diseases such as lung cancer.
In order to stop talking about plastics in our society, focus must be on the production of biodegradable waste. It's also about influencing or creating measures that encourage companies to recycle or reuse in their value chains. But plastic packaging companies must also be able to reuse their packaging. That's to say, when a customer buys a product and he comes back with the same plastic bag at the next purchase, he receives a discount on the purchase price. The government must also develop taxation approaches for companies that produce plastic bags.
Thanks to her leadership, Mariam and her team have managed to make some deals with private companies and individuals. Today, she plans to expand her business within the country while spreading awareness on the dangers of plastic waste in the West African nation.
Well, viewers, this report there, of course, brings us to the end of this news bulletin, but you can join me at 19:30 for another news bulletin. For more on these stories, you can log in on our website on iafrica.tv. Once again, I am Amadou Kante, and bye for now.